Would you tell everybody your name?
Ashley Swift.
And are you related to David and Karen Swift?
Yes, I'm their daughter.
And how old are you now?
I'm 22. I'm sorry.
It's all right. We're going to...
It's okay. You take it easy.
We're going to take our time, okay? It'll be okay. Let me just ask you a few questions.
Okay.
Would you like some water or something?
I'm good, thank you.
Okay. You're not used to testifying, so let me just ask you a few things, okay?
Okay.
Now, you remember when your mother went missing?
I do.
How old were you back then?
I was 9.
And were you close to your mother?
I was very close to her.
All right. And were you in school at that time?
I was.
About what grade was that for you?
I think 3rd or 4th grade.
And you lived at the house with your mother and father?
Yes, sir.
Was your sister living there at the time?
She was.
Is she older or younger than you?
She's younger.
How much younger, can I ask?
About 4 to 5 years. She's 18 right now.
Okay. And when y'all lived there, was your father working out of town before?
He was.
Were you aware then where your father was working?
Yes.
And was that out of town?
It was. It was about 45 minutes away.
Would your dad be gone during the week, or was he gone during the weekend working?
No, it was just the week.
And your mother, do you remember, was she working sometimes during the period right before she's missing?
She would do like odd jobs of like landscaping or cleaning and things like that.
Now, where y'all lived at the house, y'all had lived there, I guess, a few years before your mother went missing?
Yes.
And you knew some of the neighbors or aware of some of the neighbors?
Yes.
Did you know who the Nathys were?
Yes, they lived the house before us.
And did you know where Mr. Hogshooter lived, or you aware of him?
I was.
And in fairness, you were pretty young at this time.
I was, yeah.
And are there things that you don't have a real good memory of, details?
There are some things, but there are some things that I definitely remember.
Well, let me ask you about those. Do you remember a day or two before your mother went missing, going to stay with a friend at their house?
I do.
Was that the day before or a couple of days before?
It was the Saturday.
And you remember what friend you went to stay with?
Yes, I do.
Was it Dyersburg?
It was like Newbern right there, where Dyersburg and Newbern.
And were you intended on spending the night?
Yes, sir.
And is there some reason why you didn't spend the night?
So it was me, the girl's house that I was at, and another girl. And I feel like whenever you're young and you get in a situation with 3 girls, somebody feels left out, and I felt left out and just wanted to go home to my mom.
Was there something about a pimple or something that you...
I think I just kind of used that as an excuse to get out of there, but I really just missed my mom.
And because of that Saturday evening, did you call your mom?
Yes.
And what did you request of your mother?
I asked her to come pick me up to take me home.
And did your mother respond?
She did. She came and got me.
And of your own knowledge, did you know where your mother had been when you called her?
No, I didn't know where she was. I just knew that she was out with friends.
Did you know which friends? Or
no, but...
Did your mother always explain to you where she was going, or tell you where she was going?
Not always.
Were there some times that your mother would just leave and you would get upset?
Yes, there were many times where she would leave and I would beg for her to stay because she was gone all the time.
And did your mother come pick you up that Saturday night?
Yes.
Or early Sunday morning? Are you sure which?
I'm not 100% sure which, but I know that it was later into the night.
And then when your mother picked you up, did she pick you up in her car?
She did.
And where did y'all go after that?
We went home, back to our house where my sister and my dad were.
And do you recall getting out of the car or going to the house? Or do you recall everything about that night?
Yeah, we came into the house and we went to sleep in her bedroom, the master bedroom. Me and her went to sleep in the bed.
You slept in the same room as your mother?
Yes, sir.
All right. You know exactly what time it was that you got there?
I don't know the exact time, but I know that it had to have been into the night, past midnight.
As you and your mother come in the house, do you either hear or have contact with your father?
Yes, I remember him checking on us, making sure we were okay and that we got inside, and checking on my mom to make sure that she was okay.
And did you and your mother go to bed then?
We did.
And did you go to sleep pretty quickly, or?
Yeah, I fell asleep pretty quickly. I was tired, so being home with her.
Now, after that, did you aware of being moved or your mother getting up?
Yes, I remember her moving me in the middle of the night to my sister's room, in the bed with her.
In the bed with your sister?
Yes.
Is that on the same floor as your mother's?
It is. It's the bedroom right beside.
You recall it being your mother that moved you?
I know it was her. It was just instinct to know what your mother feels like and how that felt.
Okay. That's your best recollection?
Yes, sir.
And did you open your eyes and look, or?
I feel like I briefly, foggy, opened my eyes and just knew that I was being moved into another bedroom with my sister, but I didn't fully wake up.
Are you, do you know what your mother, whether she left or not after that?
I don't.
Now, after you got in bed with your mother and you got moved, you don't know if she went out and did things on the computer or downloaded pictures, do you?
I don't know.
All right. And I guess did you wake up sometime the next morning, that Sunday morning?
I did.
And what did you do?
I remember it was a little bit late because I was going to go clean the house with my mom that morning. And I knew that it was a little bit later into the morning than she would normally go do things because she was always up at 6, 7 a.m. going to do things. So I knew it was past time for that.
Did you feel like you had missed her?
Yes.
All right. Were you aware she was going to go somewhere and clean a house?
I was.
And were you intending on going with her?
I was.
Now, was your mother there when you woke up?
She was not.
And was your father there when you woke up?
He was.
And I guess after some period of time, on into the morning and on towards lunch, is your father at the house with you and your sister?
He was.
And did y'all leave at some point?
Yes, we left to go see where somebody had told him where her car was.
And did you have any idea yourself who called?
Not at that point until he took us to that person.
Who was the person?
It was the Lambs, Jennifer Lamb.
All right. And before, you don't remember exactly what time that was that day, do you?
I don't remember.
Or that afternoon?
I don't recall.
Do you recall getting in the vehicle with your father and your sister and driving away from your house?
Yes.
And do you recall where y'all went?
We went to where her car was, and me and my sister stayed in the car.
Did your father get out?
He did briefly.
And did you observe him going up to the car, or did you observe him going in the car, or did you really notice or remember?
I didn't really pay attention. I think I was just talking to my sister in the car.
And y'all were there for a period of time?
It wasn't a long time.
Right. That's fair. Whatever you recall. And after your dad got back in the vehicle, y'all's vehicle, where did y'all go?
He took us to the mall to meet Jennifer Lamb.
And did she keep y'all or just entertain you? Or?
She just kept us for a little bit until we went back to her house.
And when your dad took you to the mall to Miss Lamb, did he leave y'all with her?
He did.
And he drive off in his car?
Yes, sir.
Now, at some point that day or that evening, did you go back to your house?
I did later on. First, we went to her house and waited because there was a search being done. And after they conducted the search of our house, we went back.
That's what you recall?
Yes, sir.
All All right. You talked about you stayed with Miss Lamb until it was okay to come back.
Yes, sir.
Did your dad come get you, or did she drop you off, or do you remember?
I don't remember.
You got home somehow, but
I
you
did.
don't?
It was walking distance, so
Okay. Now, after that day, you were aware that your mother was missing.
Objection, lady.
Let me ask this. After the day your mother went missing, were there things going on at y'all's house that involved law enforcement coming in that you noticed?
Still leading.
After that day, were there things going on at your house that involved law enforcement?
yes. They
And
would come do searches at the house.
did that happen more than once?
It did.
To your knowledge, did it happen that Sunday or that Monday?
I don't recall.
And I only want to ask what you recall, okay? And then the days after that or the weeks after that, do you recall law enforcement coming to the house again?
Yes, there was a time where we were getting ready to leave, and I heard a knock on the door, and I looked outside, and there was a line of police officers with rifles lined up in our driveway.
And did y'all leave the house after that?
We did.
And where did y'all go?
I think we were planning on going to eat dinner, so we just went ahead and went and had dinner.
Did you know the neighbors, the Nathys?
Yes,
Did y'all ever go to their house?
we did.
Okay. Maybe, are you sure how many times?
I'm not 100% sure.
You were pretty young, weren't you?
Yes, sir.
And you did sit down and a lady did interview you, didn't she?
She did.
And she asked you some questions.
Yes, sir.
Now, did y'all at the Swift home at the time before your time your mother went missing, did y'all have dogs?
We did.
How many dogs did the Swifts have?
We had two before she went missing.
And was there an accident or something that happened to one of the dogs before your mother went missing?
Yes, sir. My mom accidentally backed over the small dog.
And was that near or around the garage area?
I don't recall 100% where it happened, but I
Right.
do know that we brought the dog up and said our goodbyes close to the house.
And you had another dog?
We did.
Now, was there a swimming pool at your house?
Yes, sir.
Do you recall at that young age swimming out there?
I do. We had pools all my life growing up, and that's how we spent our summers.
And was it a in-ground pool or above ground?
It was above ground.
And did your mother use it a lot?
She did.
And did your mother, to your knowledge, clean the pool, or
Yes,
and did other members of the family help with that?
I'm sure.
After your mother went missing, well, at the time, around the time before your mother went missing, were you aware that your father had a leg injury or not?
Yes, he did.
And I guess, did you see him on occasion before your mother went missing with an injury or notice an injury?
Yes.
How did you notice him?
He had crutches and a brace.
And months before that, did you yourself know that he had injured his leg or not months before that?
Yes.
And that he had an operation months
Yes.
before that?
Yes, sir.
Since your mother's been missing, and since these years, have you continued with your education?
I have.
Yeah. Your father raised you and your family?
He did.
Objection, lady.
Did your father raise you and your family?
He did.
You have a brother?
I have two.
Did they go on to school or college?
They did.
Your sister?
She's about to start school, college.
Prosecutor may have questions.
Morning, Ashley. I'm truly sorry about your mother. You were 9 years old when your mother went missing, is that right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And at that time, your mom was sleeping downstairs. Is that
Yes, sir.
right? And your dad slept upstairs?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Did you usually sleep with your mother?
Most nights.
Okay. Did Keely sleep with your mother?
Some nights.
Okay. Did she also sleep with your father?
Some nights.
Okay. And the night that you came home on October 29th, or maybe an early morning, October 30th, Keely was actually sleeping upstairs with your father, wasn't she?
I don't recall.
Okay. Where was Keely's bedroom?
It was downstairs by my mother's.
Okay. Did she ever sleep by herself?
Rarely, but there were occasions.
Okay. So would you agree that it's a good chance she was upstairs with your father then?
She could have been, I don't recall.
Okay. But she rarely slept in bed alone?
I mean, there were times, but
But it's pretty rare.
I don't know how often.
Okay. How old was Keely at that time?
She was 5.
5 years old? Okay. And you said that you went to bed with your mom. Do you recall how your mom was dressed?
I know that she just had like some sort of T-shirt on before we went to bed.
Okay. Anything else?
I don't recall.
Okay. And you recall being moved sometime in the night to the bed with Keely?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Which was downstairs?
Yes, sir.
Okay. But you really don't know who moved you, do you?
Oh, I know it was my mother.
How do you know that?
It's instinct to know your mother versus somebody else. You have that bond with that person and you know who it is.
But you didn't actually see her?
No, but I felt her.
Okay. All right. But you didn't wake up?
I didn't fully wake up, but I was in that foggy phase where I could tell that it was my mother, and I felt her.
Okay. So you weren't completely awake and coherent about what was going on then?
No, sir.
Okay. So you actually don't know for sure then, do you?
I mean, I have a pretty good instinct to feel
Okay.
what my mother feels like.
Okay. When you got home, where was your father?
I don't remember exactly if he came downstairs or stayed upstairs.
Okay. Did you see him?
I don't recall.
Okay. Do you know if your mother talked to him?
I know that he checked on us and made sure we made it home.
What did he say?
I don't recall.
Do you know where your mother was when she talked to him?
In the living room.
Okay. And he was upstairs?
I don't recall.
You don't know? Okay. How did your father get upstairs with an injured knee?
There would be times where he would sit down backwards and scoot up the stairs.
Okay. Is that what he typically did?
I think so.
Okay. And the next morning when you woke up, was your father already awake?
I don't remember.
You don't remember if you went and woke him up or if he was already up?
I don't recall.
Okay. And you said your mom ran over a dog?
She did.
What happened to the dog?
It passed away.
Okay. What kind of injuries did it have?
I have no idea. It was a small dog.
Did you see it?
I did.
Okay. Was there a lot of blood?
Yeah, it was bleeding out of the mouth, and
Okay. It wasn't inside the garage though, was it?
I don't recall 100% where it was. It was either right there on like the edge of the gravel garage area.
Okay. Which would be not the smooth part of the garage, it's the gravel part.
Well, right there where they meet.
Where the gravel and the garage meet.
Yes.
Okay. And you had a swimming pool? Is that right?
Yes, sir.
And you swam in it often?
We did.
Okay. You didn't swim in it in October, did you?
I mean, I don't know exactly when the pool was closed.
Okay. If it was 50 degrees outside, you wouldn't have been swimming, would you?
No, sir.
Okay. So there wouldn't have been a need to clean the pool if it was wintertime or it was in the fall where it was cold, would it?
Well, if we were closing the pool down and cleaning it.
Okay. That would be the only reason.
Yes, sir.
Okay. One moment, John. It's all yours.
Ready, Rick?
Yes. The morning you woke up after your mother brought you home that Sunday, did you have occasion to look around the house or be in the house? Were you at the house before you and your dad left with your sister?
Like, once I woke up,
Mhm.
we were.
Yeah. It's funny how we ask questions, I know. Did you hear anything at night, or did anything wake you up once you went to sleep about a fight or a disturbance?
No, sir.
Did you hear anything out of the ordinary?
No, sir.
Did you hear a fight or a struggle in a room where somebody's clothes were being torn off?
No, sir.
Did you hear anybody yelling or saying help or anything?
No, sir.
When you got up, did you look in your mother's room sometime that day?
I went to look and see if she was in there.
Did it in the room that y'all both, the room she stayed in?
Yes, sir.
Did you see anything that was out of ordinary or looked like somebody had been fighting in the room?
No, sir.
Did it look consistent with what you saw before the night before?
Yes, sir.
Did you smell any bleach or strong odors when you got up?
I did not.
Or around the house when you walked around that mid-morning up till after lunch?
No, sir.
The next day?
No, sir.
Or in the days following?
No, sir.
Just one second. Thank you, ma'am.
What kind of housekeeper was your mom?
What kind of housekeeper?
Yes.
I don't understand the question.
Did she keep the house clean?
Not always.
What did it usually look like?
I mean, it was messy most times.
Do you remember how the bedroom was the night that you got home?
I don't remember everything about it, but
Okay, that's fine.
No more questions.
You can step down. Yes, ma'am, you can.
She's released.
She just asked me if she could sit in the gallery, and I said that she could.
Are you Dustin Swift?
Yes, sir.
How old are you now, Mr. Swift?
31.
And are you the children of David and Karen? Are you the child of David and Karen Swift?
I am. Those are my parents.
Now, you remember the time when your mother went missing back at the end of October of 2011?
I do.
How old were you back then?
18.
And were you in school back then?
Yes, sir.
Would you just tell us where you were in school?
I was over at University of Tennessee at Martin in the pre-vet program.
What year were you?
It was my first semester.
Of your freshman year?
Yes, sir.
Now, before you left for college, did you live home?
I did.
Did you live with both your parents at their home?
Yes, sir.
And up until you left, I guess, I'm asking, up until you left for college, did you live at the home?
Yes, sir.
After you started college, what time of that summer do you recall of 2011?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
When did you start college back in 2011? Do you remember around what time frame?
It would have been fall.
That was was that a month or two before your mother went missing?
A couple months, yes.
Now, how did you learn that your mother went missing?
We had woken up first thing that morning, and my best friend had received a phone call, and he didn't tell me anything, but he was instructed to drive me back to Dyersburg.
And did you go back to your mom and dad's home that day?
Yes, sir.
And was that a Sunday, or do you recall what day of the week it was or weekend it was?
It was the day that her vehicle was found that morning.
And when you arrived at the house, do you remember around what time? Was it morning or afternoon, or do you recall?
Late morning, afternoon.
And when you arrived at the house, did you walk around or notice anything in the house?
of course, I walked around. I didn't notice anything in particular.
Did you smell any strong chemical smells like bleach?
No, sir.
Did you notice anything that was out of the ordinary in the garage?
No, sir.
What about in the house, around your mother's bedroom?
I noticed nothing at all in any region of the home, anywhere, out of particular.
Now, did you stay at the house that day, or did you have occasion to leave sometimes?
I would leave every once in a while, but when I came home, I stayed.
Was there a lot of things going on that day?
Yes.
And did people come over to your house, to your knowledge, or do you remember?
I don't recall if anybody came over. It was,
Later, did you notice law enforcement come over to the house, or either that day or in the days after that?
I do remember one time.
Would you just tell us what you recall?
It was late in the evening. The sun was down. I don't recall if it was Ashley or myself that noticed someone knocking on the door, and they presented AR-15 assault rifles. Multiple people in the garage, decked out like they were going to war.
And did y'all stay in the house, or did y'all have to leave?
We were asked to leave.
And you recall where y'all went after you left?
It was the Navys next door.
And was this a few minutes or a few hours?
It was several hours.
All right. Now, were you aware that your father had injured his left leg before your mother went missing?
I was.
You remember some months earlier that your father had a surgery to his leg?
Traumatic surgery, yes.
Now, you had been gone to college for a little while.
Yes, sir.
When you came home, did you notice anything about your father and his leg use or getting around?
Nothing in particular.
Did you, when you came home the weekend your mother was missing, you had been gone a week or two before your mother was missing, is that right?
Yes, it was a week or two before she went missing that I came for the weekend or the day.
When you came home after your mother's missing, did you observe anything about your father and his walking around with his leg?
It was the same as before. It's injured, on crutches, and a stiff leg brace, I believe.
Now, let me ask you about before your mother went missing and when you were at home. You recall whether or not you knew that your mother, in the months before she got divorced or after she got divorced, had more than one phone?
I believe I was aware of that, yes.
And do you recall around the time frame that your mother went somewhere and filed for divorce?
She called me late one night.
Is that how you learned?
Sir?
Is that how you learned of it?
She told me that she was filing for divorce.
All right. And before your mother went missing, in the months or weeks before that or days before that, were there dogs at your house?
At that time, there would have been, in the last 6 months, I think 3 dogs total that were there.
And was there an issue about one of the dogs being injured, or?
Actually, there was 3 different instances where all 3 of them were injured.
Now let's take them one at a time. The most recent one, what was that? The one closest in time to when your mother went missing.
That would be my current living dog.
And the dog, a dog that was injured in 2011.
He was poisoned in 2011, yes.
And obviously, do you still have that dog?
I do.
And what about the one before that?
The one before that was a smaller dog that was more so both my little sister's dog. Her name was Mia. Mom accidentally ran over her while she was checking the mail.
And were you there when it happened?
I was.
And just describe what you observed about the dog and where the dog, if the dog was moved or where the dog was brought.
She was ran over right by the mailbox. She liked to chase cars for some reason, and Mom didn't know she was out there. And she was a smaller dog, so she was instantly killed when she was ran over. I remember Mom bringing her up. I believe Ashley and I were outside at the time, bringing her up, and we were obviously weeping. And
where was the dog brought to, or can you say?
I know that we stood over and prayed over her. It would have been right inside the garage or right out front of the garage.
All right. And was there another dog before that?
Yes, there was a dog that got shot. He was previously my brother's dog, and he didn't have a place for him, so he came and lived with us, and one of the neighbors shot him.
Were those dogs outside or inside dogs?
The one that got shot was an outside dog. The one that got run over was typically an outside dog. And Jack, my dog, was an outside and inside dog.
Do you know whether they stayed in the garage or had access to the garage when they were outside?
We've always left the garage door cracked for dogs.
All right. Did y'all have in the months before your mother went missing, did y'all have a pool?
Yes, sir.
Was it an in-ground pool or above-ground pool?
It was an above-ground pool.
And did y'all use it a lot?
Yes.
And do you know did you ever participate in the cleaning of the pool?
Absolutely.
And did others in your family, to your knowledge?
We all did.
And typically, just explain to me how you would clean the pool when you did it.
We've always had a pool growing up my whole entire life. We would always use a mixture of shock and bleach.
Shock, is that a chemical or?
Yes, sir. It's a pool chemical.
Is it something you buy that's in a bottle? I'm
I'm
not aware of it.
Shock is typically purchased in like a bucket or packets.
And did you say other things besides shock was used?
Shock and bleach.
And how would you do it?
We'd walk around and pour a bunch of bleach in, and then we'd toss and empty the packets the same way, and we'd stir it up, and wouldn't be able to swim in it for a couple days.
Is that a way of cleaning an above-ground pool?
Yes, sir.
Now, were you at home when there was an issue about the dog being poisoned?
I don't believe I was home at that time.
Well, then let's don't talk about it. Your older brother, in the months before your mother went missing, was he in school or not, to your knowledge?
My older brother at this time?
Yes, sir.
He was in college.
And where did he go to college at the time?
At the time, I believe it was Conway, Arkansas.
To your knowledge, did your brother come home from time to time on the weekend?
Rarely.
Okay. After your mother went missing, did you do things to look for her or on your own?
Absolutely.
Would you just tell the jury what you did?
When she became missing,
Yes, sir.
I was obviously in college, had later classes. It's a habit to stay up late at night. So when I came home after getting the phone call, I would often go out and drive around with my dog and look for her and call for her. And I just wanted my mom back.
Well, let me ask you this. While you were out looking around before your mother was found, did you have an occasion to observe something at a cemetery?
I observed something that was out of the ordinary.
And just tell us in your own words what you observed.
I had been out with my dog Jack, looking for her, and in the wee early hours of the day, the sun had just come up, and I was on the back way of Harness, and I noticed somebody randomly standing in the ditch with a metal detector.
Can I ask what location near Harness or any landmark?
I could point you exactly where it is on a map. It's in between the cemetery and 78, I believe, is that highway.
Is there something in the, like some fixture out, sticking up out of the ground around this?
Around the area?
Yeah, not a tree, but like some religious symbol.
Oh, that's what I said, in between the cross and 78.
Okay, I'm hard of hearing, so I'm sorry. And I just tell us what you observed and what you did.
I passed by. I took a second thought and thought it was out of the ordinary. So I turned around and I pulled up next to where he was standing. I rolled my window down.
Well, you saw somebody standing there. Did you know this person at the time?
I've never seen this person.
Was it a male or female?
A male.
All right, go ahead.
I pulled up next to him and rolled my window down and had a conversation with him.
And did you notice anything about him?
I believe he told me he was exercising and he didn't look like he'd worked out a day of his life.
Anything else?
I told him that, I asked him what he was doing out of curiosity. You know, at this point, my mother is missing. She's not dead, right? He said he had lost his watch. And if I'm not mistaken, when I looked down, he's got a watch on his wrist. And I thought it was very odd. But I told him, you know, my mother is the one that's missing. If you see anything, be sure to tell someone.
And did you drive on?
I did.
And were you later interviewed and told that to the investigators?
Several months later, I did, yes.
Now, in the days after your mother went missing and before she was found, was there a lot going on at your house with people coming in and going out?
Yes.
And was there a vigil at your house?
Yes.
And after that, your mother was found. You recall that, hearing about that.
Yes.
And did you go back to school?
No, sir.
And I guess did your dad continue to raise you and your two sisters?
Very well.
All right. And did you continue on with school and your education?
I did.
Did you graduate from school?
Yes, sir.
How are you employed now?
I am a federally licensed aircraft mechanic. My company does avionics upgrades for general aviation and also defense contracts.
And when you weren't in school, did you continue to live at home with your father until you did go back to school?
Yes, sir.
All right. The prosecutor may have some questions.
Good afternoon, Mr. Swift. I'm sorry for your loss. When your dad originally injured his knee, that was in the springtime of 2011, is that right?
I don't recall exactly when it was, but
Okay. Was it several months before your mother was missing?
several is a broad term. I'm not sure exactly when in that year that he originally.
Okay. Was it in a soccer game?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And is soccer typically played there in the spring?
I don't know when soccer is played, sir.
Okay. But he had to have surgery for that.
Yes, sir.
Right. Okay. Did he use crutches continuously after that?
Yes, sir.
Okay. There was never a time that he was not using crutches?
Possibly, but all the times that I recall, he was on crutches.
Okay. All right. So that would have been even months before your mother was missing, he was still using crutches?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And you said that you knew your mother had a second phone?
Yes, sir.
How did you know that?
I believe my father told me.
Okay. And when did he tell you that?
I don't recall.
Was it before she was missing or after?
It was before.
Okay. So your father knew before your mother was missing that she had a second phone?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And you said that your mother ran over your dog, Mia. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Or was Ashley's dog, I think?
Ashley and Keely's dog.
Okay. When your mother brought the dog up, did you say it was like on the edge of the garage and the drive part?
I don't remember exactly where it was. I know that we were in the garage at one point praying over and
Okay.
weeping.
Do you remember when that happened?
Not specifically, no.
Okay. Was it close in time to when your mother was missing, or was it a few months before?
I don't recall specifically.
Okay. You said that y'all typically left the garage door cracked for the
Yes, sir.
dogs. Did you ever just leave it up?
Sure.
Okay. Was it left up often?
I don't recall exactly how many times it was left up, but
Okay. It wasn't uncommon for the door to be up.
left open or
Yes,
cracked.
left open.
Sir,
Left open.
there were times, I'm sure.
Okay. And you said you saw a gentleman near the cross. I think you said between the cross and Highway 78.
Yes, sir.
Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Do you know where Bledsoe Cemetery is?
I am aware now. I was not aware at the time.
Right, but now you know where it is.
Yes, sir.
Okay. He wasn't near the cemetery?
He was, I mean, you're from Dyer County.
Yes.
It's
Yes.
down the hill. It curves to the left.
Okay.
And on that straightaway before it gets to 78.
Before it gets to 78.
Yeah.
Okay. So he was away from the cemetery. You had Bledsoe Cemetery. If you're driving towards 78, you would pass Bledsoe Cemetery, then the cross. Is that right?
That is correct.
Okay. And he was past that?
Yes.
Okay.
That is still by the cemetery.
Right, but it was past the cemetery and past the cross.
It is 200 yards from the cemetery.
Okay. All right. And you stopped and talked to him. Is that
Yes, sir.
right? And he said he was exercising?
Yes, sir. I can still tell you what he was wearing.
Okay. What else was he doing? Just exercising?
Well, He claimed he was exercising, but he had a metal detector. He claimed he was looking for his watch.
Okay, all right. But you said he had a watch?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Do you remember telling officers in your interview that you were about 60% sure he had a watch?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so you wasn't 100% sure that he did?
60%.
Okay, all right. Also, when you talked about that, this was an interview and a statement you gave officers in July of the following year, correct?
Your Honor, if the witness needs to refresh his memory, you can hand him a document according to our rules.
I think you can ask him if he gave a statement in July of the following year to law enforcement. I don't see a problem with that question.
Do you remember that?
I do.
Okay. Why did you wait until July of the following year to tell anyone about that?
I believe the answer to your question is a lot of the way my family got treated when my mother went missing. There was one time I had walked in there and I was mocked and laughed at and told that, oh, that never hold up in court.
Okay. So,
Because of the verbiage that I used.
okay. So you chose not to tell anyone.
For a couple months.
Okay.
Yes.
And when we talk about a couple of months, we're talking about 8, 9 months before you told anyone?
If that's the distance between the date on the interview
Okay.
and the time between Mom was missing and
Okay.
found.
Okay. All right. So you didn't think it was very important then?
No, sir. I believe my mother was still alive.
Okay. Even after your mother was found in December, you still didn't tell anyone, did you?
No, sir.
Okay. And 7 months later, you decided to tell someone?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And when you were talking to officers, did you tell them also that you had been out all night looking for your mother and you were extremely tired?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
I explained that I had different hours and I would stay up late at night often.
Okay. Did you also tell them that things were heavy on your mind and you couldn't get it off your mind?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And you also told officers that, let me see specifically. Okay, you told officers that you were driving and you were zoned out. Correct?
I don't recall exactly word for word.
Okay.
12 years ago.
You also told them that you had this feeling that was kind of like deja vu and you remembered this man.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So it was a weird feeling and all of a sudden you remembered that you had seen this guy.
Yes, sir.
Okay. You didn't know who it was, did you?
No, sir.
Okay. Did you find out later who it was?
I did, after Mom was found.
Okay. And you actually found out because you went home and told your dad you had seen an older man down there, right?
No, sir, it didn't happen like that.
It didn't happen like that? Did your dad pull a video out that had Darryl cells on it and show it to you?
The news had released an interview after Mom passed.
Right.
It was on the TV.
Right. And did your dad pull out a copy of that video and show it to you?
I'm not sure if it was a copy of the video, but I thought I had seen it on the TV.
Okay, so if you told officers you got home and let's see, got home, asked Dad if older people could be involved with your mom's missing case, and he pulled a video out of Darryl's cells and asked you, was that the guy?
He did not ask me, is that the guy?
But he pulled a video out of Darryl's cells and showed it to you.
Yes.
Okay. Pass the witness.
Yes.
Nothing further?
No, I do have some questions. In the months before your mother went missing, did you notice a difference?
And my mother?
Yes.
Yes.
Were there times that you would get up while you were home and she would either always be there or not?
Yes.
Did your mother have habits, routines then of how she would get up or work during the daytime?
She was a very early riser.
Were you aware that she was going to the gym pretty actively?
Yes, sir.
Were you aware in the evenings that sometimes she would go out?
Yes, sir.
Were you aware that sometimes she would do that without your father or after your sisters were in bed?
Yes, sir.
Were there times that you had to watch your sisters in the evenings because of that?
I don't recall in the evenings, but during the day sometimes, yes.
Okay. All right. That's all I have.
When you say your mom was an early riser, what time did she typically get up? Okay. And you said she would go to the gym early. Didn't she usually go after she dropped the girls off at school?
I did not know my mother's current schedule.
Oh, I thought you just testified that she went to the gym early.
She would go to the gym early at times, yes.
Okay. What time?
I know that she would be gone sometimes before 6 o'clock.
Okay. And you watched the kids quite a bit, didn't you? Ashley and Keely?
Off and on, yes.
And your dad asked you to watch them a lot, didn't he?
I don't remember a lot.
How many times did your dad ask you to watch Ashley and Keely?
I don't recall.
Once? Twice? More than 5?
It's the same answer. I don't recall.
Did your dad ask you to watch Ashley and Keely so that he could go look for your mother?
At what point?
In the year of 2011.
While she was missing? Or?
No, prior to that.
I don't recall.
You don't recall your dad asking you to watch them so that he could go to Walmart and wait for your mom?
That I do recall.
Okay. That's all.
That's all I have.
Sir, you can step down, thank you.
He could
You can
remain in the
stay-
courtroom if he
You
wants.
can stay in the courtroom if you'd like, okay? But you like. Okay, next witness.
David Williams, Your Honor.